From cybersecurity to employee safety to public health concerns, risk management is a critical component of any business. Shital Thekdi, an analytics and operations professor in the Robbins School of Business, studies and teaches on this topic. As she'll explore with us, risk permeates most aspects of our lives. Shital is a labor economist. Risk management has come up in my own research many times over the years, and I'm looking forward to this discussion with you.
I am too. I'm happy to be here.
How do you define risk, and what might surprise people about this area of study?
What generally is surprising is that there is no universal definition of risk. So different government agencies and different professions and even different companies have different definitions of risk. There's recognition that risk is the study of uncertainty. What may surprise people about risk in general is that while there are risk analysts and risk managers with titles, the reality is that we're all responsible for risk.
With the increase in remote work due to the pandemic, more business is conducted over email. Has that increased risk when it comes to cybersecurity and phishing attempts? And if so, how?
Organizations were largely unprepared for this shift to remote work because of the pandemic. You know, when working in a physical building, there are often safeguards in place. For example, the simplest could be just controlling who can enter and exit the building. And with the shift to remote work, a lot of those safeguards were gone. History has shown us that, despite organizations spending hundreds of millions of dollars on IT, risk events can happen from somewhat small or relatively small occurrences. For example, one leaked password.
What safeguards should employees take, and what should they be thinking about when it comes to risk?
Organizations have to have a strong risk culture, and that means that every person in the organization has to have understanding and also some role to play in the risk policies. It's not just good enough to say or to identify what can happen, but also to decide what to do about it. There's recognition that we can't live in a bubble and we can't protect ourselves from every single risk event that can happen, but we can prioritize and understand what are the highest priority risks that need to be treated. And it is possible and probable that there are some risks that we just can't treat because they're low priority.
What factors do you examine in the classroom when you introduce these concepts?
What I tell students is that the reason why we're talking about risk is not to scare them and not to scare organizations, but to empower them. Because the more we have discussions about risk and about how we can manage risk, the more control we have. And the stronger the risk culture, the more resilient organizations and we are in general.
I think that you're a great example of our teacher scholars bringing their research into the classroom. Risk is so clearly important in so many areas of our lives, both personally and professionally, and I'm delighted that you and your students are so closely examining this critical topic. So thank you.
Well, thank you.